Yo, what's up, guys? Time for a little Patreon exclusive. First of all, I want to thank everyone watching this who's supporting the Patreon. We appreciate it. It's been our best month for Patreon. We hope you'll stay with us next month. In fact, we're going to give you another piece of content, another podcast this week, just because we appreciate everything from this last month. But this is an abbreviated video version of the Black Thought Danger Mouse interview. My camera guy was late, but he got there, got set up, and this is some bonus exclusive content for you, our patrons, our day ones, our loyalists, our squad, the Juan Eppers, the Juan Epperoos. Thank you.
Outcast and Goody Mob, but that was 94.
Yeah, 93 was Players Ball, the beginning of it.
Yeah.
You know, that's why literally the first I ever heard about it was, I remember Eric Sermon was like, yeah, he moved to Atlanta, and I, reading the source and Too Short, and Eric Sermon has a car shop in Atlanta. I'm like, up till then, I'd really never thought about Atlanta, in a real way, beyond it just being an American city. And so you got to be there while the entire thing has changed.
But and I was from New York, but not the city. I was from the suburbs of New York, so I didn't move down there until I was in junior high school already. So it was a new thing. So
were you the kid putting people on to the New York underground rap?
No, I when I left New York, I listened to rock music. I didn't really listen to hip hop when I got there. Not till I was 13, and then it changed very quickly. But you go with your groups, and I was around different groups of people. So first it was mostly Miami bass. That's mostly what people listened to in Atlanta when I was there. In 89, 90, it was Magic Mike and stuff like that.
Yo, do you think it's fair to say? But I asked both of you guys as hip hop historians this question because it dawned on me. I did one of those A&E rap doc things, and they did a Luke episode, and I was like, yo, for a long time, Luke was the only thing to me that was Southern hip hop. That's all I knew of Southern hip hop. Basically prior to the Ghetto Boys, was essentially Luke.
I don't want to be.
I'm not saying he was first. No.
Yeah,
I just mean in terms of how it made its way to us, not about who was actually first. But like, did you know of anything in the South prior to seeing the videos for 2 Live Crew?
Prior to seeing the videos for 2 Live Crew, I heard, of 2 Live Crew, and but no, it was that sound, like Miami bass, Miami bass, and some of the Houston stuff,
the Ghetto Boys right around the same time that's happening as well.
But, two completely different, sounds, feels, aesthetics, and for me, my entree into the world of just hip hop from the South, sounding anything remotely, close to how it looks and sounds now, was in 92, 93. Going down there, like driving to Atlanta in a van to do radio runs and being like, oh shit, these guys, the Goody Mob, are here. You know what I'm saying? Outkast, the Goody Mob. We came up together, as one another's competition, but also, as peers, and live bands, touring, playing the same places, doing the same.
I mean, you guys would have been, Outkast and the Roots would have been in some order, 1, 2, or 3 in the best performing rap acts that you could see.
Yeah, Outkast, the Roots, Goody Mob, and Fugees at the time.
Yeah, that's like sort of the.
We was like the the real deal. You know what I'm saying? But hip hop with real bars, but with live instrumentation performances.
Now, Danger, do you perform? When you do Gnarls Barkley, do you perform at all?
Yeah, when we did Gnarls, it did. We kind of got thrown into it. It all happened so fast. So yeah, I put a big group together so I wouldn't have to play very much at all. So there's a lot of people on stage. It was about 13, 14 people on stage, and I did very little in the beginning.
Do you,
very little.
When one walks out of the studio after making a song like Crazy, like if I were to play Crazy right now, it's like such a no-brainer smash. Like you play it and it's just like, yo, y'all remember this is a moment in time. Are you aware when you walk out of the studio, like, oh, this is going to be playing, this is going to be ubiquitous, this song is going to be everywhere?
No. I remember I played it for my sister and brother-in-law, and they thought, oh, this is CeeLo? This is interesting. And I was like, that's not good. But it wasn't our favorite song at the time. But it also, I remember we didn't get signed off of that. We put our demos together, and not demos. They were finished songs. The first 5 or so we put them on a CD and went to all the labels, and they all said no. And Crazy was the first song, exactly like you hear it.
Wow, really?
You played Crazy for me. I was like, oh, this shit is.
Yeah, no, all my friends are music people.
Right.
Absolutely, I played it for Damon. I played it for some other artists. They thought it was, really big, but at the time, I didn't know that you could do music you liked and it would be big.
Right.
To be honest, I mean, I just
well, and
was doing
CeeLo,
stuff,
CeeLo wasn't a huge star yet. I mean, Gnarls kind of what made him a huge star.
He had just done his second solo record, and they dropped him out. They had that song with Timberland, and so when we did Gnarls, he was unsigned, so we could do whatever we wanted pretty much. And so that's why I think people didn't run to it, mainly maybe because the aesthetic. They didn't know who I was. He wasn't necessarily in that place where people would do that. So I don't think.
I guess you're right. It's less of a
didn't
no-brainer.
know.
It's less of a no-brainer in retrospect than I think of it now.
Well, they said who was going to play it. They were like, "Who's going to play this?"
Right. That's a fair question at that time. It turned out the answer was everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, that is an interesting thought that I didn't have.
Stations I think played it the least.
Really?
Yeah.
It did better at Urban?
I think rock stations. The rock stations. It was really high up. It did really well there. And then pop, of course, but hip hop played it a little bit, I guess. But
so
aesthetically, it just didn't fit into anything. It didn't sound like anything.
So, Thought, you just referenced hearing Crazy back then. So this friendship goes back a long way. How did you guys first connect?
We first connected during that time. Like, I think if I wasn't already living in LA, I was like, the bi-coastal sort of. But yeah, we talk about, had it not been for the success or the relative success of the Gray album, then Danger would have never met the Roots longtime manager Rich Nichols, who they met randomly, like on a panel together, doing a thing, having a conversation, like Danger Mouse and Tom Ford and who else is on that shit with you guys?
T-Bone Burnett, I think.
T-Bone Burnett.
Wow.
Just a random group of people.
Yeah, I'll say.
And Rich. And I think, somehow just, he closed mouths don't get fed. I think he mentioned at some point to Rich that, he was a fan of the Roots work and that I was one of his favorite artists. And Rich was like, oh, he was fucking with the Gray album. And, he came back to me and said, yo, this dude, he did that Gray album shit, Danger Mouse. I think he wants to work with you. You know what I'm saying? That was all he needed to say. So I was out there. I was a fan of Brian's stuff already, and it just worked out.
That's pretty cool. And so
I didn't even know though at that point that you had done Gemini. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And once I found out, I mean, like you said, it's if you know, you know. But for me and people who are from where I'm from, that was one of those joints. That's a classic joint.
Yeah, no, it's a classic boom bap.
Well, let's make sure that's clear. I didn't do the first ones. I did the
But you
ones.
did,
right.
Yeah, right.
I didn't do Brooklyn Kids.
Right.
No. Who did
listening to those?
Who did Brooklyn Kids?
Oh man, I think it was.
I don't mean to put you on the spot.
I know. Well, you can edit this. I can't remember who it was.
Because it's crazy. It was such a random. That was such a fun time.
I'm gonna say Ski.
No.
Yeah, no, I have no idea.
You just randomly throwing out.
Just throwing out names.
Hold on, Brooklyn Kids, Gemini. I'm my debate in my head is, do I know who it is at all?
Of course
you will.
It's someone we know.
It's on the tip of my tongue.
Let's see. Okay.
Organized Confusion in Minnesota.
Minnesota again.
Yeah.
Remember, Cipha and I Cipha and I just went down a Minnesota rabbit hole.
Yeah.
Of being like, yo, this dude did so many records. Wow, I didn't realize it was Organized Confusion and Minnesota. That's very, very interesting. Wow. Well, shout out to those guys. Now, Thought, you mentioned Rich. The last few years for the Roots has been tough. You guys have had your share of losses as a group. How have you coped with that? I know it's something that we all have to get used to getting older. We're going to lose people who mean a lot to us, but that doesn't make it any easier when it happens.
Yeah, I mean, it's never easy, but, I've dealt with loss just forever, my whole life. So it's what I know. It's, I think, part of the sad truth of it is that, I'm just conditioned in this way, you know what I mean? Like post-traumatic stress sort of shit. So, I mean, we process grief in our own ways. For me, it's always pushed me deeper into the art, whatever I'm working on, you know what I'm saying? Music, whatever it is. I just dive deeper into, you know, the being a creative. And past few years hasn't been any different in that way.
And we lost Doom a year ago.
Yep.
A little more than that. And Danger, your guys' project obviously was one of the big pieces for him. He has obviously a handful of legendary projects as a solo artist, but yours is one of them. What was that process like? I'm just always curious to get more information. I was watching the documentary this week on the Brian Wilson documentary, which I cannot recommend more to anyone listening.
Yeah.
And so I'm always amazed by just virtuoso lunatics, who just do things in a way that no one has ever thought of. And Doom reminds me of that, of Brian Wilson in that regard. These two geniuses who just operate in that way. Yeah. What was Doom like to work with?
I don't really know. I say that because it wasn't really, the collaboration was much more, talking about things, yay and naying things, but then when it came time to recording, he recorded himself, and which was fine for me. He seemed to do well at that. And it was more like, it was a period of time, he was coming out to LA a lot, working with Madlib and the Stones Throw guys, and I met him, and I would see him going back and forth to Atlanta, and he would come stay at the house for periods of time, and maybe he would do 2 or 3 songs, maybe there would be nothing, and you don't know what was going to happen
until the end.
Or that trip, just there would just be nothing that would happen, right. And but
did you guys have a timeline, or was it kind of open-ended and you just worked on it when you could?
There was a timeline. If you want to get paid, you turn in stuff and you get it. And so that was its own timeline, really. But it was still kind of on us. And it didn't take us that long once we started doing it. Maybe it took us 6 months to do the whole album, I think, something like that. No, I mean, I don't really know, because that was the time that we spent together mostly, was that those couple of years from when we first met to when we were done promoting the album, and then starting to maybe get ready to do some more. And then I got really busy. He had some situations that made him have to not be in the country. And we didn't really see that much of each other after that. We really didn't. We just had that really great time. I'm really happy I got to do that and work with somebody like him. I mean, but after that, we didn't really work on anything after that so much.
But he did promo for the project? I was gonna say, because you said during that, and I'm like, well, what promo was he doing?
We did some.
Some things happened.
We definitely did some things. It was that's a whole nother story.
I was gonna say, so you have one guy who's somewhat shy, doesn't want to be a front man. Then you have another guy who is known to wear a mask or maybe not show up at all. That's a pretty interesting combo for trying to get promotion done.
I mean, they let us wear masks, and I think I wore a mouse costume back at the time. I didn't really want to do stuff either, so, but I got left holding the bag a couple of times, but he did more than I think anybody expected he would at the time.
Do you feel that you got to know him better as a person than an artist?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
You just knew as a homie.
Yeah, pretty much, even though most of what we did had to do with, music and things like that, but yeah, as far as going into the insights into his process and things like that, I'm not gonna. I'd be guessing in a lot of ways as well. I have no idea how he comes up with the stuff he does. That's just a mystery. And again, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. And I remember being frustrated with him and talking to him about it. And he explained a very important lesson to me, where he said, basically, it'll be done. You'll get it when it's done. Because if you can get it from someone else, go ahead and do it. Because it's not going to happen. It's just like, this is how he does it.
Did this come? You were trying to push at some point? Were you like, hey, you're?
I was excited. I just wanted to keep making more stuff, and it's easy for me to pop out beats. But he was like, hold on a second. He was like, if you can get this from somewhere else, go ahead. And I was like, okay, it's good. You got to know your own value, and that's what he was basically telling me.
That's very doable.
And it's real. It's like, your value. And if somebody can get what they can get from you from someplace else, then you're probably not doing something. You're not doing it as uniquely as you probably can, for better for worse. And he was right, and I waited, and it was it was quality. So it's a good way to think of things, I think.
Is there anything out there for you, like collaboration wise, for either of you that has not happened yet? That's something you actually think about on a conscious level. Hey, that would be really.
I mean, the
ideal.
Roots. We would really like to work with Sade.
Just keep putting that in the universe. I guess.
I will.
That's
Yeah.
Sade. Wow.
Yeah.
It seems like that should be reasonable.
There's this one joint that we sampled, like for the Roots album that the upcoming Roots album, and she cleared it. So yeah, if that's
Seems
any
like
indication, like we might be able to say, hey, could you sing it over? I don't know, but that's something that we would, I love to work with Sade. Everyone else is I've already done. I had Sade and Danger Mouse.
Come on. Now, Danger, what about you? Anyone out there that?
I more look at trying to go back and do more with people I've worked with already and kind of do better. Not that it's bad or anything like that, but that excites me, working with people again.
Really?
Yeah, because you get the communication better and better, and you can be more and more honest about what you are into or not, and you just get stuff just gets better as you go along, and the relationship working wise can as well.
That's a really interesting thought that I feel like it's such, interview 101 to say who else you want to work with. I love the idea of no, I just want to keep working with the people I work with and get better at it.
Yeah.
Because I imagine every time you start something, there's a certain period of time, unless you've been good friends for a long time, where you have to learn each other's.
It's right in the beginning, yeah.
Style.
Usually you're really excited about what you come up with in the beginning, but I've just done this so many times where I'm like, we're probably not even going to use this. Because it will get much better, but it's a nice feeling that beginning part of the first couple of songs, first things you do, you real because it's brand new. It's two completely different artists doing something together, and it's a new sounding thing, so you get excited. But there's also a little bit of not as much honesty in it as far as each other, what you like.
Because you have a little bit of
a. There. Yeah, you can be more harsh later on.
Now, speaking of new sounds and trying new things, I'm going to try something new and risky before I let you guys go, since this is one. Billy June, I know you're a fan of both Black Thought and Danger Mouse. Can you muster up enough courage to ask a couple of questions into that microphone?
I can if you turn on the microphone.
Oh, hold on. Try now.
Can you hear me?
No. Here, borrow Thought's mic. Here you go. Thank you, Thought.
Thanks.
All right, what do you have for them?
Well, a lot of the questions I think I had written down you asked.
It's because I'm a professional. They don't give these jobs to chimps, all right? I know what the fuck I'm doing.
One of my questions was, how did you decide who to put together as features on each song? Because it's like a strange mix of people.
Pass that mic now, Billy. There you go. Give the mic to Black Thought, for God's sake. He's one of the greatest rappers of all time.
The feature sort of decision-making process just sort of came to be, just in a natural sort of way. I think if we ever do it, when I do a song, if there's space left, where someone else would sound cool on it, it almost dictates itself to you. These songs, they almost write themselves, because there's only one way that's the right way for it to go, So yeah, when you do a record, I guess the idea is always to have some guests, just because that's sort of what people want. But for us, I think that was one of the last, thing, parts of the process.
So you had openings at the end and then filled it in. And
yeah, but there were openings that were for specific, only so and so could go here, and then this guy. You know what I mean? It wasn't often you sort of just get who you can get. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes you agree to work with someone and then you figure out what you're gonna do. None of these collaborations came to be in that way.
All right, Billy June, you got one more. What else you got? Let's see what's on your list. Thank you, Thought.
I know you guys, I read about it. You did music together 15 years ago and it never released. Do you think it ever will come out?
Take that back, Thought. Danger, what do you think?
Yeah, I listened back to some of it recently, actually.
And?
It's mixtape material, possibly. All his stuff is great. I'm not just saying that. It's just beat-wise.
He's obligated to say that, Thought. He might have thought you were trash.
If I had him separated, if I had the separated tracks, we probably could use them.
You mean use his acapellas? Get rid of your beat.
I think we're both tough critics on ourselves, and I will probably say, the opposite.
Right.
I mean, the beats are cool.
Let's just see.
That's the truth, though, and yeah, that was that first. So when we were finishing Gnarls, me and Tariq were in the studio. on another studio while we were mixing gnarls in one room, and Tariq and I had just met and were recording demos in another room. That was in 2005, I think it was.
Mm-hmm.
And I think one of those things made it onto the album. One of the verses, it got stretched out, and you added to it. But we only had a few other things. Maybe we had 7 or 8 things or something like that. But they might here or there.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, we could unearth some gems.
But it goes in the same vein of what we're doing now, honestly.
Right.
It
So
is just not as
I
good.
think at this point we have just as. I mean, we got stuff that's not on this album that I want people to hear.
It just didn't
you know
fit.
what I mean? It just didn't fit. So I think the whole idea of continuing to work together and all that's sort of that applies to this. Whatever we are, this relationship.
Well, so and outside of this relationship, what do you have next, Thought? Because these days it seems
musically,
I
have I got Streams of Thought Volume 4.
Okay.
Which is another epic album. It's completely produced by a guy out of Detroit named 14KT.
Okay.
I have an album with Leon Michaels of El Michaels Affair and Budo's band, Minahan Street Band. We have an album together. It's all live stuff, mostly like analog stuff recorded on tape.
Wow.
Yeah, I like it. So yeah, those are like 2 Black Thought projects that are coming, and then
Roots album.
The new Roots album. Yeah.
Which is when?
Pretty soon.
Soonish.
Soon. Yeah.
And Danger, what about you? What's up after this one?
I just have a band I'm in, Broken Bells, and with this James Mercer, who's the singer from the Shins.
Shins, yeah.
And I have a band together. This is our 3rd album, and that's coming in the fall. But that's the only thing I can really talk about.
I wish you could diversify your interests more, Danger Mouse, and not do records consecutively with people who aren't remotely similar as artists. Okay, Thought, before I let you go, two songs that are on my mind. You have 2 of the rap songs that are like forever playing. Like those songs that just play on a loop in your brain or in your soul or whatever for your life. 2 of them belong to you. One is Act 2, Love of My Life. Did you same question I asked Danger Mouse about Crazy, different kind of success, but did you know when you guys finished that record, like, this is an anthemic hip hop song for the ages?
Not that one, no. I didn't.
Do you hear it now when you hear it?
I do. I didn't have that feeling though. At the time, it sounded so much like just what we were doing. Like all of our stuff it was live instrumentation. It had horns. I think one of the young ladies from the band Zap Mama was on it. She just happened to be around like that day, and she does this thing where she like plays glass bottles and she makes like the sounds that you hear. That's her.
That's her. I was literally about to ask. That's her mouth.
Yeah, that's her. Like sometimes it's her voice, and other times she's blowing into like a glass thing.
Wow.
But yeah, you do the song. And it was just another joint me and Raj had done, me and Common. We at that point in my life, Common and I were together a lot. You know what I'm saying? We would spend weeks at a time together. So it was just like another song that we had done. I think like in my mind, the day that I did that song was the day that I was supposed to do Double Trouble too with Mos Def, and we got into the lab. I think it was either the same day or the very next day, but I feel like Common was in one room, Mos was in the other room. Mos asked me if I would like a fish sandwich, and he departed, and he never came back. So
you never got your fish sandwich?
I never got my sandwich. I got my
verse,
but
eventually.
Not that day, yeah. So I wound up going to work with Raj, like, yo, fucking, he's still on that Mos Def shit, you know what I mean? And then we did this joint. But yeah, it was very much just like, what could we do today with who's in the room? Me, Raj, and Zap Mama.
No, listen, that song right there, it's like it's in my heart. Not to be morose, play that at my funeral. Like that's one of those.
I recently
records.
watched on YouTube. There's this thing we did in Dallas a few years ago, where we performed with like a 60-piece orchestra, the Dallas Pop Orchestra. And Shaka Khan, Robert Glasper, Erykah Badu, and we did, just the biggest arrangement of "You Got Me" that I've heard to date, and it was pretty crazy, man. It definitely stirs up some emotion.
And the other record that plays in my head a lot is the Respiration remix.
Oh wow!
which is, I mean, and by the way, which
The
was
Pete Rock one.
with the Pete Rock
Yeah.
one, which relates to Common because he was, of course, on the original.
Yeah.
It's hard. That's one of those hard to choose which one I adore more between the original and the remix.
Again, this was during that same time. Me and Common were together. Like, I would stay at his place in Brooklyn, or he would come and stay at my place in Philly, and we would just rock. We would go, open mics, recording studio. Like, we were, actually, J. Rue Damage would be with us a lot during those times.
Wow,
too.
shouts to J. Rue.
And another person, was Pete Rock. We would just kick it. I would be with Pete Rock in Green Street Studios, not there for a session, but just eating ice cream and shit, and just seeing who he's rocking with for, that day.
Do you remember who had where the Respiration beat lived first?
I don't remember where that beat lived.
It was I'm 90% I'm right. This is one of those Future Flavors, exclusives back in the day that Pete would play. It was his Capadonna slang editorial remix.
Wow. Yo, now that I think about it, like I think I heard
You probably heard it and we're like,
yeah.
what's up with that?
Exactly.
And that was just one of those ones that Pete and Marley would, play at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Guys, the project is out this Friday, correct?
Yeah.
People can stream it everywhere. Is that how it works these days?
Yeah.
Or are you doing a physical album?
Well, I think we're doing like some limited vinyl, but what is a physical album?
I know. It's for people, nerds like me,
Yeah.
sometimes. I get more excited about 45s these days than LPs.
Nice.
The LP, I'm just old and lazy. It's just too much. Just give me one little tiny record that weighs like a few ounces. But so excited to hear the project. It was a real treat getting to talk to both of you.
No, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Black Thought, Danger Mouse. Thank you guys.
Yep.